Hey everybody. Been a minute, but life has been lifing, so there you go. Nothing's changed, right? Anyway, since I saw you last, I racked up a couple more publications for the day job life thing, completed a massive set of exams, and am now gut deep in writing 4 conference papers. But I did want to jog down memory lane a bit today with some old anime journalism, as per the clear out the various nerd cobwebs mission of this channel. For about 3 or so years, I was the content director of an animation website, and while it was sort of an obnoxious task in a lot of ways, it was also really cool, and I enjoyed many parts of it. At AM Squared, the con that tried to compete with AX and was hilariously and rightfully trounced in 2011, the site I was with did several interviews that we personally lined up after the person who was throwing it, despite being our actual partner, tried to power play us and cut us out of the mix. 'Cause who'd have thought? Anime and drama? Surely you jest. What I'm sharing here today is an interview I did with Toshihiro Kawamoto, an anime legend who worked on some of my favorites like Gundam 0080, Gundam 0083, Venus Wars, City Hunter, and a little show called Cowboy Bebop. I've cleaned it up as much as I can, but be warned. There is some noisiness happening here, and you can hear it exactly as it happened, warts and all. By the way, if you're wondering, this is what working in anime journalism is like. You have limited time, it's often sort of rushed, and you have to get your bearings straight in weird circumstances. Again, enjoy that music in the background. Now, in this case, Kawamoto was as cool as could be, and he hooked me up with thorough quotes and a great ending. The trick for anybody who's interested in it, and this is just my advice and I'm years out of the game, is to learn how to ask good, well-articulated questions and then just bump right out of the way and let your subject talk. Chances are, if they're a professional, they're pretty good at it. So with that out of the way, here's the Annie.May interview with Toshihiro Kawamoto. Enjoy! So let's begin. Okay, so for the record, would you please state your name?
お名前をまずお聞かせください。
川本俊弘と言います。代表作でいうとカウボーイビバップとかゴールデンボーイがこちらでは結構耳にするタイトルかと思いますけど、どうぞよろしくお願いします。
My name is Toshihiro Kawamoto. I'm known for doing work such as Cowboy Bebop and Golden Boy. So nice to meet you.
ガンダムシリーズもいくつか手掛けてました。
I also worked on a few Gundam series as well.
I was counting them out, so I remember when I transcribed this. So, beginning with Gundam, please tell me about the influence of Yoshikazu Yasuhiko on your work.
ガンダムの質問なんですけれども、まずお聞きしたいのが、安彦さんの影響についてなんですけども、どういった影響をどのくらい受けていらっしゃるんでしょうか。
そうですね。かなり話が長くなりそうなんですけど。
It's gonna be a long.
もちろん、いわゆる日本でいうファーストガンダムと呼ばれているもののキャラクターデザインの安彦さんなんですけど、それを自分は高校1年の頃にやっぱりテレビで見る側として、体感をしまして。その頃まだこの業界に進むかどうかっていうのは全然考えてはいなかったんだけど、数年後やっぱりこっちの業界を目指すっていうにあたってはやはりその安彦義和さんっていう人の仕事がその目指すからには目標の一つっていうところで、そういうなんかこう覚悟を持ってこの業界には入っていきました。
So, the first Gundam that I was exposed to was what's so-called first Gundam in Japan, First Gundam, and of course the character designs were done by Yoshikazu. And I watched it when I was in high school, and at the time I didn't even think about getting into joining anime industry at the time. But then when I decided to go to get my career in anime industry. Then Yoshikazu, of course, became my role model or the goal or the level I want to achieve. So that was the determination that I had when I decided to pursue my career in the anime industry.
れはとても偶然なんだけども、その業界に入った1年目から自分がその安井浩義和さんの監督作品に関わることができて、でそれ以降安井子さんがアニメ化する作品においては、毎回参加するっていう形を取らせていただいてました。
It was by sheer coincidence, but after within a year that I joined the anime industry, I was able to work in the directorial work by Yasuhiko Yoshikazu, and ever since then, every time he does his title, then I will help him out.
This was Arion, yes.
その監督作ですね。安彦さんの監督作はアリオンでしたか？
そうです。まずアリオンからですね。
You also worked on the Venus Wars
Yes.
Adaptation.
その前に風と木の歌っていう問題の OVA が。
Yeah, before that there was another OVA called 風と木の歌, Song of Wind and Trees.
Okay. So I was wondering if you could offer me some insight into the production of Venus Wars. It's about to be re-released in the United States, and it seems like it had a very high budget. It's very impressive animation, but I don't know a lot of the backstory about that, like I would say a Ghibli film's production.
そうですね。ヴィーナス戦記のプロダクションについてお伺いしたいんですけれども。
すごくマニアックだね。
というのもアメリカでまた再リリースされるそうなんです。はい。
欲しいな。
それで見た限りだとすごく高い予算で、作られていて、贅沢というかアニメーションもすごくいい感じなんですけども、それを見てる側でその実際の制作がどういう感じだったのかっていうのを知りたいのでどんな感じだった
これ残るんだよね。そうですね、いろんな部分本当に現場にいた人間の一人なんで知ってる部分語れる部分はあるんだけど、あまりこう夢を壊すことを話してもあれっていうかなんかネガティブな印象を与えちゃうんで、ただ当時っていうのはやっぱりある程度決まった短期間であれだけのクオリティの劇場作品を1本作らないといけないという時代であったので、それをやっぱり今で言うと期間では作れないであろうクオリティで作ってしまったっていうところは本当に安井子さんが持つ魅力っていうところに尽きるのかな。もちろん安井子さん監督絵コンテで参加はしてますけども、この辺も含めたところで安井子さんの魅力っていうところでスタッフがついていったんだと思いますね。
Yes. So there are actually lots of stories to tell because I was really in the production studio working on that title. But not to give you any sort of negative impressions or disillusionment of this whole production process of anime, because I'm sure you have like some kind of a very like fantasy, like this is how it should be like. But not to destroy all of that. The only thing I can probably just tell you is that at the time, with that amount of production period, the quality is amazing, and they had to make that kind of quality product in that time period. And now, with that amount of time, there's no way we can make it the same anymore. It's just not possible. But that's partially because that was the appeal, or what makes Yasuhiko-san so special about him. He not only directed the Venus Wars, but he also did the storyboards as well. And because he was the director, and because it was Yasuhiko-san, all the staff members just kind of worked for him, and they were able to complete the film within that short period of time.
We actually use, for our video panel, we use the introduction from the Venus Wars, and the spaceship comes down and it fades into our logo.
You have a panel?
Yes.
なんかそのパネルをするときにそのロゴを見せるときにヴィーナス戦記のビデオを使ってるって言ってました。宇宙船かなんか降りてきて、するところでそれがそのロゴにフェードインするというか、
タイトルがガーッと出てっていう、そこ使ってるの？
使ってるそうです。
I can show you. I'll show you later.
後でお見せします。
So moving on. Thank you very much. So from there to Gundam, you had some involvement with Zeta Zeta. How did you come to later be involved with 0080, 0083, and 8MS?
ですね。そこからガンダムの話になりますけれども、ダブルゼータに関わってらして、でその後に80ですとか83、それから前発招待に続くわけですけれども、どうやってそのダブルゼータから80にこうつながっていったんでしょうかっていうのが質問です。
すごくこうマニアックなところを知っててくれてとても嬉しいです。
He's really glad that you know all the details of his like career.
And G Gundam too.
G Gundam も含めて。それまず。
まずそうですね。どこから話していこうかな。ガンダムゼータガンダムっていうタイトルが放送された年に自分はアニメーターになったんですけども。その時に、自分はそのアリオンの動画をやりつつ、力試し的な感覚で、ゼータガンダムの原画を少し書かせてもらったんですね。でその、が評価されて次回作のダブルゼータから次からじゃあ原画をやってくれないかというふうに依頼されて、それでそのガンダムワールドに入っていくことになります。自分まずきっかけはそこですね。
Yes. So when Zeta Gundam aired in Japan, he just became an animator back then, and he was doing the in-betweens for Arion, the movie, and as sort of like as a test to move up the ladder to become a key animator, he did a key in Zeta Gundam, and that was pretty well perceived by the upper class production people. So since then, he was able to do more key animations in Double Zeta, and that's how he got in or pulled into the world of Gundam, and that's how it all started.
そしてそのヴィーナス戦記っていうそのタイトルが終わった時に自分が次の仕事を何にしようかっていう決めかねてる時にちょうどその OVA 第一作の0080というタイトルの、原画をやってくれないかっていう依頼があったんですね。それは多分、三木本さんっていう方がキャラクターデザイナーで安彦キャラを描いてた人間であれば預けられるかなっていうところで多分原画として最初話が来たんだけども一応作家という形で参加することになりました。
So by the time that his work in Venus Wars ended, he was wondering what he should do next, and then right about around that time, the work for the creation of the production of OVA series 0080 came up, and then he was initially asked to do key animations for that because the character designs were done by Mikimoto-san, and then he probably thought that since he used to draw so much work for Yasuhiko-san, it might be easy for him to draw his kind of characters. So that's probably the reason why he was asked to do the key animations. But then in the end, he not only did the key animations, but he became the animation director or animation supervisor, to be correct. Yeah.
I have one more question, then I should move on to Bones because we have 5 minutes.
Okay.
0080 is a very dark, cynical, in many ways sarcastic show. Was this an intentional change from some of the earlier Gundam series?
80についてなんですけれども、非常に作品がこう暗いというか皮肉的なものもすごくあるんですが、それはこれは意図してその他のそのガンダムのものとこう区別するというか。
そうですね。それはもう全て監督のカラーというか、別にその皮肉を描いているわけではないんだけど、高山文彦っていう監督は多分業界の中の監督カテゴリーとしてもかなりこう得意な存在で、やっぱり独自の演出法を持ってるし、独自のその映像の作り方じゃない、独自のその物語の、演出法っていうところで、そういう印象を与えてるんだと思う。
It's probably due to the director's his way of directing made it that way. It's not that it's trying to be cynical or anything, but the director or the writer Fumiko Takayama is a very unique director, to say the least, and he has his own way of telling a story, and also his own way of how the story should unfold. So that's probably the reason why you get that impression of cynicism.
だから高山さんのディレクションっていうのは、かなりこう明確に我々アニメーター側にも伝えてくれるので、仕事一緒にパートナーとして作業する上ではすごく仕事がしやすかったですね。その監督のビジョンが明確だったので。
Yes. Since director Takayama had a very clear vision of how his title should be, it was really was a good work. It was a good thing for him to work with them, to partner with the director. He has a very clear vision.
So we're at the 2-minute mark, and I have to skip all of my City Hunter questions.
シティハンターの質問あったんですけど、あと2分しかないのでスキップします。
いいんじゃないですか。
It's okay. He says it's okay.
All right. Well, you also worked on City Hunter, which was licensed here in the 90s, but seems to be kind of a forgotten series in American fandom. Could you describe your time with the production? I know you were on the 3rd series and one of the OVAs.
シティハンターは90年代にこちらにも来たんですけども、すでにちょっともうアメリカでは忘れられているというかタイトルなんですね。で川本さんがその第3シーズンですとかビデオの方で作品に関わられているのを知ってるんですけども、ちょっとそのまた制作について教えていただけますか。
自分がシティハンターに関わったっていうのはそれも本当に偶然で、サンライズの第3スタジオというところでシティハンターは作られていたんですけど、その第3スタジオでシティハンターの別版として、劇場作品がオリジナルの劇場作品が動いてたんですね。でそのオリジナル作品が、頓挫しちゃって制作ストップがかかったところで急遽そのシティハンターという仕事の依頼が入ったっていういきさつですね。
Excuse me.
Actually, the reason why I started working on City Hunter was also a coincidence too. I was working in the Sunrise number 3 studio at the time, and
Side 3?
サイド3ですね。
サイド3、そう言われてみると結構なんかこうなんだろう。
That kind of makes me think about it.
環境を翻すスタジオだったのかわかんないけど。
But anyways, there was a separate group from City Hunters working on the original movie title at the time, but then the movie got cancelled at the time. So when they put the halt to that project, he immediately got asked to work on City Hunter.
あとそのヴィーナス戦記で作家として、上村幸子さんという方が書かれてたんだけど、その上村さんのキャラクターデザインというところでやっぱり自分もすごく興味があったタイトルではありますね。
Yes. So in Venus Wars, there's a Kamimura-san was the animation director for Venus Wars, and she did characters also for City Hunter too. And so that's part of the reason why he also got pulled into doing City Hunter as well.
So I think they want me to wrap up. I don't know.
そろそろちょっとまとめに入らないとっていう感じで
So, but we'd like to thank you for taking the time to speak to us today, and we wish you continued success with Bones and everything you're doing there. Big Cowboy Bebop fans, etc., etc. And thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us today.
今後も川本さんがこうなんていうんでしょうこう作品がこう成功して、ビワ君も含めてなんですけどファンがこれからも楽しめるように。
はい。ありがとうございます。ちなみにおいくつなんですか？
Could he ask how old you are?
31.
31歳です。
若いのね。
You're young.
よくご存知ですよね。まあネットでいろんな情
You
報
know
が出てる
so
でしょう。
much. Yeah,
それ
maybe you
結
can
構
find it on the net, but
自分の作品に興味を持ってくれてる人になんかこう久しぶりに出会えてすごく自分嬉しいです。
he's really happy that he was able to meet somebody like you who just knows so much about what he did.
Yeah. Well, I even like recently I also liked Gosick a lot, or Gosick that you worked on.
ゴシックも好きなので。
I like the presentation of the characters, and I mean, of course, Concussion was a fan of Blood, Escaflowne.
キャラクターの描かれ方とかも好きですし、まあ、あとブラッドとかも好きですっていう。
So it seems like a big change from giant robots to small girls.
まあもともと巨大ロボットを描いていたのに今はこう可愛い女の子を描いてらっしゃるとすごい変わりましたね。
いやそれがプロの仕事だと思います。
Well, that's what professionalism is.
It's a good place to stop.
Yeah, would you like to show him the clip that you were talking about?
Yeah, there's something.